I'm about to tell you something that could get me canceled in the spiritual community. After your spiritual awakening, after all that bliss, all those downloads, all that divine connection, there's a very good chance you're going to wake up one morning and feel absolutely nothing. Empty, lost, like someone reached inside you and turned off a switch. And the worst part, you'll think you did something wrong. You'll think you failed. You'll wonder if your awakening was even real. I'm Landria Onkka, and I've been a spiritual guide for 2 decades. I've walked hundreds of souls through this journey, and what I'm about to share with you is the part of awakening that nobody posts on Instagram, nobody writes in their books, and nobody wants to admit is coming because it's dark, it's uncomfortable, and it doesn't sell courses. But it's the most sacred part of your entire journey. And I'm going to go through the stages, reasons, and what you can expect because as we transition into our golden era, I want you to know that you are okay. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through your fears and guide you on your spiritual journey into our future, the one we're creating right now. Before we start, if you'd like some practical ways to move through this stage and step into your empowered self, I share a lot about that in my book, Break Through Fear, Your Spiritual Butt Kick. It's a guide to transforming the exact kind of blocks that show up in this phase of awakening. You can find the link below in the description. And if abundance and money have been a part of your struggle since your awakening, and let's be honest, they often are, take my free quiz, Mind Over Money, the Abundance Accelerator. It'll help you discover your money archetype and show you what's really blocking your flow of abundance. You'll find the link right below this video also, because big things are coming and we must get everything in check because you are meant to thrive, not just spiritually, but in every area of your life. So let's start on this very uncomfortable subject that just might answer the questions you seek as you embark on your awakening path. Let me paint you a picture. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You had your awakening. Maybe it was Kundalini arising. Maybe it was an ayahuasca ceremony. Maybe it was a spontaneous moment of ego death where you saw through the illusion of separation and touched pure consciousness. That's what happened to me. For weeks, maybe months, you were flying. Everything made sense. You could feel energy. You saw synchronicities everywhere. You knew that you were connected to something infinite. You probably told people about it. You changed your diet. You left relationships that no longer resonated. You quit jobs that felt soul crushing. You were finally awake. Ah, that was the case with me. I left investment banking. And then one day you woke up and the magic was gone. The synchronicity stopped. The energy you could feel so clearly, numb. That connection to source, silent. That sense of purpose that was so crystal clear, vanished. And in its place, nothing. Just this hollow, empty feeling like you're walking through life in a fog, going through the motions, wondering what the point of any of this is. I'll bet some of you can relate to this. If that's you right now, I need you to hear this. You are not broken. You did not fail, and you are not alone. What you're expecting has a name. It's been documented for thousands of years, and it's not the end of your journey. It's actually the beginning of the deepest work you'll ever do. So let's talk about authority and credibility, why I'm qualified to guide you. Before we go deeper, you need to know why I'm the person to guide you through this. I've been doing this work for over 20 years. I've guided souls through world events, energy shifts, and personal transformation. I've seen the patterns. I've walked this path myself multiple times, and I've held space for hundreds of people as they navigate what I'm about to share with you. But more importantly, I've been through these stages from euphoria, expanding outside my body. I was disconnected from the 3D world after 3 years of this state of of total awakening, I found that the bliss does shift. No one told me that you come down from the awakening. How's that possible? It made no sense until I read Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, where he talks about his own awakening and then coming down from the high. It's a process that it just happens without our fully understanding it all. Are we doing something wrong? Why am I not experiencing the intense joy that I carried for so long? Does this mean that I'm no longer awakened? I still held pure love and compassion for others. I still connected to the source and meaning of it all, but the bliss had dulled, and the world became even less tolerable than prior to my awakening. You're probably shaking your head right now. Yes, there's an explanation for it all. I'm going to cover the work of Carl Jung, the mystics, the alchemists, and the wisdom keepers who understood this process long before we had language for spiritual awakening. And here's what they all knew. The awakening experience, that moment of enlightenment, that touch of the divine, that's not the destination. That's the initiation. What comes after is the real work. And that work looks like death. It feels like depression and makes you question everything. How can someone be awakened and feel like they can barely get out of bed and function in the world anymore? Well, I'll explain why. The spiritual community doesn't talk about this because it's not marketable. You can't sell a course on how to feel empty and lost for 6 months, and no one wants to hear that all their hard work and discipline doesn't have a rainbow at the end of the journey, or so we might think. So those who have experienced it rarely talk about the emptiness and actual pain they experience by having to live in a world that they no longer connect to nor understand. But I'm going to talk about it because right now in 2025, soon to be 2026, we're in the middle of a massive collective awakening. It is happening. And millions of people are about to hit this phase. And they need to know it's coming. More than anything, they need to know, you need to know that this is not bad, that you are making progress and you have paved your way to that golden era that you will truly connect to. This is necessary. So let's talk about what's really happening to you. The dark discovery, Carl Jung's research. Let's discuss that. So in the early 1900s, Carl Jung was studying something he called individuation. Basically, the process of becoming your true self, spiritual awakening in psychological terms. He worked with hundreds of patients who had profound spiritual experiences, and he noticed something that shocked him. Within months of their awakening experience, roughly 70% of people reported losing their motivation, feeling empty, experiencing what looked like clinical depression, and questioning why they bothered getting out of bed. These weren't weak people. These weren't people who didn't do the inner work. These were individuals who had legitimate, profound spiritual experiences and then crashed. Carl Jung called this phase the nigredo, the blackening. In alchemical terms, it's the stage where the old material is completely dissolved, broken down into nothing, so that something new can be created. And here's the key. You cannot skip this stage. You cannot positive think your way out of it. You cannot manifest your way past it. You cannot bypass it with more meditation, more plant medicine, or more spiritual practices. The nigredo is not optional. It's the necessary death that precedes rebirth. Get excited about this. Something amazing is about to happen for you. Every spiritual tradition knows this. They just use different language. Christianity calls it the dark night of the soul. St. John of the Cross wrote an entire book about it. Buddhism calls it the gateless gate, the place where all your concepts and understanding dissolve. The mystics call it the cloud of unknowing, where God feels absent and prayer feels empty. Ah, but is God absent? Of course, never. Indigenous traditions call it the void between worlds, the space between who you were and who you are becoming. This is very exciting. The Kabbalists call it the abyss, the crossing that every initiate must take. You're being initiated. They all point to the same truth. After you touch the divine, you have to return to the human. And that return is the hardest part of the journey. Because now you have to figure out how to be both, how to hold heaven and earth in the same body, how to live as an awakened being in an unawakened world. That is the challenge. And that process, it breaks you open in a positive way. If you've watched near-death experience videos, you've heard the reports from the returning souls who become depressed for having to inhabit a world that appears to offer nothing of value, having to come back to this. But the truth is that we cannot accomplish the transformation on an advanced level that Earth offers when we are in spirit form. The challenges simply do not exist in this intensity in the realm of pure light. So therefore, to accomplish those goals, we must come back here, the world that we can no longer connect to, because we've seen that other side. So let's talk about the 3 stages. Stick with me, this is all good. So let's talk about what's actually happening to you. There are 3 stages to this post-awakening darkness, and understanding them will change everything. Stage 1, the death of identity. So stage 1 is the death of your old identity. Before your awakening, you knew who you were. You thought so. You had a personality. You knew what that was. You had beliefs. You had a role in your family, your community, your work. You had preferences, opinions, a sense of self. And others knew what that was. They could identify that personality. Then awakening came and shattered all of that. You saw through the illusion of the ego. You experienced yourself as pure consciousness, infinite, boundless, connected to everything, except for perhaps this. Beautiful, right? Except now you have a problem. You still have to live in a human body, in a human world, with human relationships and human responsibilities. And you don't know how to do that anymore without your old identity. It's like someone deleted your operating system but didn't install a new one yet. You're running on nothing. This is why you feel empty. This is why nothing feels meaningful anymore. This is why you can't connect with your old friends, your old interests, your old life, at least not quite like you used to. You're not who you were, but you don't fully know who you're becoming. You're in the void, the in-between, the liminal space. And that space, it feels like death. Well, maybe you don't feel that extreme dark night of the soul. I certainly didn't. But in a way, it feels like death because it is death, the death of everything you thought you were. You can't relate to it anymore. The most painful part is that we anticipated that awakening was the answer to the worldly struggles and pain. It is the ultimate state of being, right? Well, it was for a while. So why do so many advanced souls find it even more difficult to function here? Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." This is the pain, the human pain, the disillusion of the false self so the true self can emerge. But here's what you need to understand. You cannot rush this. Your new identity is being forged in this emptiness. And every day you sit in this void, you're being reformed at a cellular level. Your nervous system is rewiring. Your energy body is restructuring. Your consciousness is expanding to hold a bigger truth. We talk about the DNA that is not being used is starting to light up. The emptiness isn't a problem to fix. It's the womb where your new self is being born. Isn't that beautiful? The fact that you find it even more painful to function in the 3D world is the very indication that you are no longer connected to it. Doesn't that help you to look at things a little differently now? It is the ultimate sign that you do not exist in the lower frequencies that rule the planet. Yay! And you are raising the frequency of the planet, the collective, by going through this, even though it doesn't seem like it. It's like living in a noisy, dirty city when your heart is yearning to live in silence and pure nature. That's what it feels like, right? And this is the frequency disconnect that indicates that you truly are on your way to something amazing. So let's talk about stage two, the frequency mismatch. I've talked about this. You cannot hear classical music if you're dialed into rock and roll, right? So stage two is the frequency mismatch, and this is the one that makes you feel crazy. After your awakening, your frequency shifted, your vibration changed. You're literally operating at a different energetic level than you were before. But here's the problem. Your external life didn't change with you. Your job, still the same. Your family, still operating at the old frequency. Your daily routine, unchanged. Your environment, exactly as it was. I've heard so many of you comment and say, Landria, my husband or wife or my spouse doesn't understand me. They're not awakened. They watch the news and I want to meditate. What do I do? This is the issue. And herein lies the challenge. It's like you upgraded to a new operating system, but all your apps are outdated. Nothing works anymore. Nothing fits. Nothing feels right. And this is why you can't have the same conversations anymore. This is why small talk feels excruciating. This is why you look around at people living their normal lives and think, how are they not seeing what I'm seeing? Do you do that? Every day, I look at the world and think, they don't see this. And there's nothing I can truly do, nor should I, to interfere with their journey. But you are contributing to them. This is why your old relationships feel suffocating. This is why your job feels soul crushing, even if it's the same job you had before awakening. For me, I found it impossible to watch the news or anything remotely violent on media, whether real or fiction. I couldn't even watch it. It made no sense and caused great discomfort for me to be a part of what I felt was a false and destructive world that dedicated its energy to so much violence and separation. You didn't change your mind about these things. You changed your frequency. And now there's a mismatch between your internal reality and your external reality. We signed up for this. And that mismatch, it doesn't feel like growth. It feels like depression. For some of you have said depression, anxiety, lack of energy and excitement. It feels like isolation. It feels like, what's the point of anything? Right? I do often think, why? Why this? Because you're trying to run a new consciousness through old structures and it's breaking you, or so it feels. Here's what you need to know. This stage is temporary, but it requires action. You cannot stay in the old structures and expect to feel better. Your soul is literally pushing you out of alignment, so you'll create new alignment. That's an action that you must take. It will not happen for you. These are the free will choices that take you into a new stage of evolution, and thus the planet. The discomfort you're feeling is not a mistake. It's a message. It's your higher self saying, these structures no longer serve who you're becoming. Build new ones. But, and this is crucial, you have to do it consciously. You can't just blow up your life in a spiritual bypass. You have to make intentional, grounded changes that honor both your new frequency and your human responsibilities, right? You can't just abandon everybody, go off and be the wolf child in the woods. We'll talk about how to do that in a moment. But first, there's a third stage, and this is the one that will either make or break your entire journey. And it doesn't have to break you. Stage three is shadow integration, and this is where most people get stuck for years. So here's what happens. During your awakening, you touched the light. You experienced unity, consciousness, divine love, bliss, oneness. You transcended your ego. You felt pure. But Jung knew something that most spiritual teachers won't tell you. You cannot sustain the light without integrating your darkness because Source is all. right? You must integrate your darkness. You cannot transcend the shadow without first making it conscious. So all those parts of yourself you rejected, suppressed, denied, pushed away, I'm not that anymore. Well, they're still there, and we must celebrate them. They didn't disappear when you had your awakening. They went underground because we don't like them, right? Yeah, we don't like them, but they are actually the beautiful part of us that allowed us to learn the teachings, to evolve. And now they're demanding attention. This is why you might be experiencing sudden rage that seems to come out of nowhere, deep shame about how you used to be, judgment of others who aren't awake, spiritual superiority or arrogance. Oh, I hear that a lot on my channel. Don't even realize you're saying it. Addictive behaviors you thought you transcended. Old trauma resurfacing. Parts of yourself you thought you'd healed showing back up. You thought you healed, they're showing back up. Am I not awakened anymore? The emptiness you feel in this stage, it's often your shadow saying, you can't just love and light your way past me. You can't just transcend me. You have to turn around and face me. You have to include me. You have to make me conscious. Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, not in a threatening or fearful way. It no longer controls you. You actually go into peace. This is the work that separates true transformation from spiritual bypassing. This is why nothing can harm you. You fear nothing. There's a peace and a almost thankfulness of the darkness that allowed us to experience something that we know nothing about when we're in our state of pure consciousness. And this is the work that most people avoid because it's painful. It's messy. It doesn't look like enlightenment. But here's the truth. Your shadow holds your power. Your darkness holds your gifts. The parts of yourself you've rejected hold the keys to your wholeness. You cannot be fully awakened and reject half of yourself, right? You cannot hold divine consciousness and deny your humanity. So we have been rejecting that. I'm done with that. Ooh, that's horrible. But when you go into this next stage, it's beautiful. It's part of the evolution. You recognize it. And this is why most people do not want to admit or realize that Source is all of these things. And without all of it, we don't get to experience the amazing contrast, the actual awakening itself. It's the integration of shadow and light that's the real awakening. Isn't this cool? That's the sacred marriage. That's what Jung called individuation. And that process, it requires you to sit in the emptiness, to feel the loss without going deep into it, to grieve who you were, to face what you've been avoiding. Okay, yes, I accept this. Just like when a person dies, there's pain, but we know it doesn't end. This is why it feels like death, because it is death. The death of the false light, we know nothing ends. Death is transformation, the death of spiritual bypassing, the death of the idea that awakening means you're done. We're never done. So let's talk about the navigation, how to move through this. Okay, so now you understand what's happening. You're in the Negredo, the dark night, the void between worlds. The question is, how do you navigate through this without losing yourself completely? Whatever that actually means. I'm going to give you a framework that's helped hundreds of souls that I've guided. And this is not about fixing the emptiness. It's about moving through it consciously, actually embracing it, not being threatened by it or avoiding it, and knowing, this is the pathway to the new era, the golden era, where it all is integrated, celebrated, and it's beautiful. Phase one, you have to grieve. Stop trying to positive think your way out of this. Stop trying to manifest your way back to the bliss. Stop spiritually bypassing the pain. You lost something real. Your old identity died. Your old life died. Your old relationships, your old sense of purpose, your old way of being in the world, they died. In a way, it was comfortable to not be conscious, right? You could just work for that vacation and buy things and whatever else, the promotion that never actually fulfilled you. and you need to grieve that. It's gone. Give yourself permission to feel the loss, to cry, to be angry, to sit in the emptiness without trying to fill it. This is not depression. This is sacred grief. This is the mourning that must happen before rebirth can occur. Some of you may have gone through this, some not. Some may have gone through some very deep, dark places after awakening, and others maybe not so extreme. But the awakened certainly understand what I'm talking about. Things just don't make sense anymore. And there's a sadness, a depression in that. So practically, this means stop forcing yourself to be positive. Create space for the emotions without judgment. Journal the loss. Write about who you were. Allow yourself to not know who you're becoming yet. Can you release that? That's exciting. Release the timeline. This takes as long as it takes. You're eternal. There's no such thing as time. The grief is not the problem. Resisting the grief is what keeps you stuck in the depression of that world and not liking this one. The second phase, we rebuild your external life to match your new frequency, but do it consciously. This is where people make critical mistakes. They either, option A, stay in all the old structures and suffer, trying to force themselves to fit back into a life that no longer resonates. The relationships, that's a big one. The old jobs, yeah. Doing things that you know are not good for our planet or yourself. Where do you go from there? You may have to make some decisions. And here's option B. Blow everything up in a spiritual bypass, quit their job with no plan, leave their marriage impulsively, cut off everyone who isn't vibing high enough. And both are traps. The conscious path is different. You make intentional, grounded changes that honor both your new frequency and your human responsibilities. And this means assess what truly needs to change versus what just feels comfortable because it's old. So we're going to create transition plans, not impulsive exits. Communicate your shifts to people in your life rather than ghosting them. Build new structures before dismantling old ones, right? So when I talk about without ghosting people, we're not here to judge them. That's judgment and separation. If you want to go into that next phase of awakening, we have to leave the judgment and separation alone. Build new structures before dismantling old ones. I created Digital Explorers to help people to create new meaning in their lives in how they earn. How do we do that and make a difference on this planet? We still have to pay our bills. So build those structures before you dismantle the old ones. Know you're on your way out. That's okay. Get excited about the new pathways. Find your people, the ones operating at your new frequency. You don't have to disregard the beauty of the relationships you had. Create daily practices that ground your new consciousness in your body. Meditation and letting go. Your awakening doesn't give you permission to abandon your responsibilities. It gives you the consciousness to fulfill them differently. So what you're looking to do is rebuild your life as an awakened being. Don't just destroy your life and call it awakening. Let's talk about phase 3. Integrate your shadow. Phase 3, do the shadow work, and I mean really do it. It's not optional if you want to move through the emptiness. Ask yourself, what parts of myself did I reject to become spiritual? What am I judging in others that I'm denying in myself, right? He without sin cast the first stone. What behaviors am I spiritually bypassing? What trauma am I calling healed that's actually just suppressed? Where am I using my awakening to avoid being human? This is where we must face it. Embrace that darkness. Embrace that experience. It's what led you to awakening. The shadow work is messy. It's not Instagram worthy. It might require therapy, somatic work, or deep inner child healing. That's why I created Breakthrough Fear. We have to recognize the past, the patterns, mind over money. Who is that character that self-sabotages? But here's what happens when you do it. The emptiness starts to fill, not with bliss, but with wholeness, with integration, with a sense of being fully human and fully divine. You stop feeling empty because you're no longer rejecting half of yourself. You're including all of it, the light and the dark, the divine and the human, the awakened and the wounded. You're experiencing all of it without judgment, without fear, without avoidance. And that's when the real transformation happens. That's when you truly become whole. So here's what I want you to understand. If you're in the emptiness right now, if you're feeling lost, depressed, questioning everything after your awakening, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. It's not a mistake. This is not evidence that you failed. This is not proof that your awakening wasn't real. This is the sacred work that comes after the light. This is the negredo, the dark night, the void where your new self is being forged, and you cannot skip it. So every master, every mystic, every awakened being who came before you walked through this darkness. I'll give you an example. Jesus in the desert for 40 days questioned the presence of God. He felt abandoned. Buddha under the Bodhi tree facing Mara. The anger, the frustration, the shamans in their death journeys, the saints in their dark nights. They all had to face the void. They all had to integrate the shadow. They all had to die to who they were to become who they were meant to be. And so do you. So stop fighting it. Stop trying to get back to the bliss. Stop thinking something's wrong with you. You are a human being by choice. It's okay. Now you're knowing what you truly are, and instead surrender to the process. Grieve what died, rebuild consciously, integrate your shadow, the beautiful shadow that is creation of source. And trust that on the other side of this darkness, there is a version of you that's more whole, more integrated, more fully human, and fully divine than you can imagine right now. And that's what goes into the golden era. The divine, the awakened that can now function in the 3D material human world comfortably. This is your sacred assignment. This is the real awakening. I'm here to guide you through it. If you need support navigating this journey, I have coaching sessions for you available. I just opened it up. And if you go down into the description, you can sign up for any one of my emails, click and arrange a coaching session with me. You have a 20% discount code. Let's find out where you are, guide you to where you need to be. I have spiritual guidance resources in the description. Use them. Mind over money, abundance accelerator. You're living in a material world. Don't deny it. Value yourself. Go after abundance. It's there for everyone. Source desires all of us to flourish because we are it. The darkness is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It's your initiation. It's the crucible where your true self is being born. So welcome to the real work. I'll see you in the next video. You are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings. And for more guidance on navigating spiritual awakening, watch these videos next and subscribe so you don't miss the next stage of this journey. Thank you for being a light on this planet in these challenging times. Namaste.